Many people think that hardships and trials are signs that Allah is angry with them. But Islam teaches a completely different perspective. One of the most powerful truths in faith is that Allah often tests the people He loves the most. Difficulties are not always punishments. In many cases, they are signs that Allah wants to strengthen a believer, purify their heart, increase their faith, and raise their status in the hereafter. Adha reminds believers of this reality through the life of Prophet Ibrahim, AES, whose entire journey was filled with tests despite being one of the most beloved servants of Allah. Love from Allah is not measured by how easy life is. A person may have comfort, wealth, and success yet still be far from Allah, while another person may struggle deeply but be very close to Him. The tests given by Allah are not random or meaningless. Every hardship carries wisdom even when it cannot be understood immediately. Allah knows what each soul needs in order to grow. Spiritually, and sometimes the only way a heart becomes stronger is through difficulty. The prophets faced the greatest trials because they were the closest people to Allah. Prophet Ibrahim AS was tested repeatedly throughout his life. He was rejected by his own people, thrown into fire, separated from his family, and commanded to sacrifice his beloved son. These were not small tests, yet he remained patient and obedient. His story proves that being tested does not mean a person is abandoned by Allah. In fact, it may be a sign that Allah wants to elevate them to a higher level. One of the reasons Allah tests those He loves is to purify them from sins and weaknesses. Just as gold is purified through intense heat, a believer's heart is purified through hardship. Difficult experiences remove arrogance, increase humility, and remind a person of their dependence on Allah. Many people only truly reconnect with Allah when life becomes difficult. In moments of pain, the heart becomes soft, more sincere, and more aware of the need for divine help. Tests also reveal the reality of faith. It is easy to claim belief when life is comfortable, but true faith becomes visible during hardship. A believer who continues to pray, trust Allah, and remain patient despite pain demonstrates sincere iman. Adha reminds believers that faith is not proven in comfort alone, but through endurance, patience, and obedience during difficult moments. Another important wisdom behind tests is that they strengthen the relationship between a believer and Allah. Hardships often push people toward dua, remembrance and reliance on Allah in ways that ease never could. A person who constantly turns to Allah during trials develops a deeper spiritual connection and greater awareness of His mercy and power. This closeness becomes one of the greatest blessings hidden within difficulty. Allah's tests are also a means of raising ranks in the hereafter. Every moment of patience, every tear held back, CK for Allah's sake, and every act of trust during hardship carries immense reward. The pain experienced in this world can become a source of eternal success if faced with faith and patience. A believer may not understand the reward now, but Allah never wastes the suffering of those who remain sincere. Adha teaches that the path of love for Allah is not always easy, but it is always meaningful. The people most loved by Allah often go through the greatest struggles because Allah is preparing them for something greater spiritually. These tests shape character, strengthen faith, and purify the soul from attachment to the temporary world. When believers understand that tests can be signs of Allah's love, they begin to see hardship differently. Instead of only asking why they are suffering, they begin asking what Allah wants them to learn, how they can grow closer to Him, and how they can respond with patience, trust, and sincerity through every challenge they face. The life of Prophet Ibrahim AS is one of the greatest examples of patience, faith, and obedience in the face of unimaginable trials. His story teaches that even the most beloved servants of Allah are tested in ways that challenge the heart, emotions, and strength of a person. Adha reminds believers that difficult trials are not signs of rejection by Allah, but often signs of closeness to Him. Prophet Ibrahim AS faced some of the hardest tests any human being could experience, yet he remained firm in faith and complete trust in Allah throughout every stage of his life. One of the earliest trials of Prophet Ibrahim AS was standing alone against his entire society. His people worshipped idols, followed false traditions, and rejected the truth. Despite being surrounded by disbelief, he remained firm in calling people toward worship of Allah alone. This was not an easy task because standing for truth often brings rejection, criticism, and loneliness. Yet he did not compromise his faith to go in acceptance from people. This teaches believers that sometimes obeying Allah means remaining strong even when the world stands against them. Another major trial came when Prophet Ibrahim, A.S., was thrown into a massive fire by his people because of his belief in Allah. From a human perspective, the situation looked hopeless. Fire destroys everything it touches, and there seemed to be no escape. Yet Prophet Ibrahim, A.S., remained calm and trusted Allah completely. Allah then commanded the fire to become cool and safe for him. This moment teaches that no hardship is greater than the power of Allah, and sincere trust in Him can bring relief in the most impossible situations. One of the most emotional tests in his life was when Allah commanded him to leave his wife Adha and infant son Ismail in a barren desert with almost no provisions. Imagine the emotional pain of walking away from one's family into uncertainty. Yet Prophet Ibrahim A.S. obeyed because he trusted that Allah's wisdom is always perfect. This test later became a source of blessing as Allah caused the well of Zamzam to emerge and made that barren land the sacred city of Makkah. This teaches believers that Allah can turn moments of hardship into sources of mercy and greatness. The greatest trial of all came when Prophet Ibrahim, A.S., saw in a dream that he was commanded to sacrifice his beloved son Ismail, A.S. This was not just a physical test but an emotional and spiritual one. A father's love for his child is among the strongest emotions a human being can feel. Yet despite this deep attachment, Prophet Ibrahim, A.S., chose obedience to Allah over his own emotions. His willingness to sacrifice what he loved most demonstrated the highest level of submission and sincerity. Prophet Ismail A.S. also showed incredible faith during this test. Instead of resisting, he encouraged his father to fulfill Allah's command with patience. This shows that faith within a family strengthens obedience and creates spirit. Al-unity. Their response to this trial became one of the greatest examples of trust in Allah in human history. Allah ultimately replaced the sacrifice with a ram, proving that the purpose of the test was never cruelty but sincerity and obedience. This event became the foundation of Qurbani and is remembered every Eid Adha. It reminds believers that Allah tests people not to destroy them but to elevate them spiritually and reveal the strength of their faith. The trials of Prophet Ibrahim A.S. show that being loved by Allah does not mean living without pain or difficulty. Instead, it means being guided, strengthened, and elevated through those hardships. His life teaches believers to remain patient, trust Allah completely, and understand that every test carries wisdom, growth, and the opportunity to become closer to the Creator through sincere obedience and unwavering faith. Every test from Allah carries wisdom behind it, even when the pain feels overwhelming and difficult to understand. And human beings naturally want immediate answers for their suffering. When hardship enters life, people often ask why they are being tested and what purpose the pain serves. Islam teaches that Allah's wisdom is perfect, even when human understanding is limited. Eid Adha reminds believers through the story of Prophet Ibrahim, that every difficulty, no matter how painful, has hidden benefits, lessons, and mercy that may only become clear later. One of the biggest challenges during hardship is accepting that not everything can be understood immediately. Human knowledge is limited, while Allah's knowledge is complete and perfect. A believer may see only the present moment, but Allah sees the entire future, the hidden consequences, and the spiritual impact of every event. What appears painful today may protect a person from something worse tomorrow, or lead them towards spiritual growth they could never have achieved otherwise. The life of Prophet Ibrahim, A.S., clearly demonstrates this truth. When he was commanded to leave his wife Hajar and infant son Ismail in a barren desert, the situation seemed extremely difficult and uncertain. There was no visible sign of comfort or safety. Yet hidden within this painful test was one of the greatest blessings in history. Allah caused the well of Zamzam to appear and turn that barren land into the sacred city of Makkah, which millions of believers visit every year. This teaches that Allah's wisdom often unfolds over time, not immediately. Another example is when Prophet Ibrahim, A.S., was thrown into the fire by his people. To everyone watching, it looked like destruction and defeat. Yet Allah transformed the fire into coolness and safety for him. The hardship became a miracle and a source of honor. This shows that even situations that appear hopeless can contain hidden mercy when a believer trusts Allah completely. One important wisdom behind tests is spiritual growth. Comfort often makes people forget Allah, while hardship reminds them of their dependence on Him. During difficult times, the heart becomes softer, more sincere, and more connected to prayer and remembrance. Many people discover their strongest relationship with Allah during moments of pain. In this way, hardship becomes a means of bringing the believer closer to their Creator. Tests also reveal hidden strengths within a person. A believer may never realize their level of patience, endurance, or faith until they are placed in a difficult situation. Allah knows the potential of every soul and sometimes allows hardship to bring out qualities that would otherwise remain hidden. A person who survives hardship with faith often becomes spiritually stronger than before. Another wisdom behind trials is purification. Hardships remove sins, cleanse the heart, and reduce attachment to worldly life. People often become overly attached to comfort, wealth, or status, forgetting that this world is temporary. Tests remind believers that true peace comes from Allah, not from material things. This purification helps the heart focus more on the hereafter and less on temporary worldly distractions. Sometimes Allah delays the wisdom behind a hardship because the lesson itself is part of the journey. A believer learns trust, patience, and surrender by continuing forward without knowing every answer. This uncertainty itself becomes an act of worship when faced with faith and hope. Trusting Allah without fully understanding His plan is one of the highest levels of Iman. Adha reminds believers that every test has meaning, even when it feels painful or confusing. The sacrifices of Prophet Ibrahim AS show that Allah's wisdom is always greater than human understanding, and every hardship carries opportunities for growth, purification, mercy, and closeness to Allah. For those who remain patient and sincere through their trials, patience during hardship is one of the greatest qualities a believer can develop. And Eid al-Adha strongly. It reminds Muslims of the immense reward that comes with enduring difficulties for the sake of Allah. Life is filled with moments of pain, uncertainty, and emotional struggle, and no human being is completely free from trials. However, Islam teaches that the way a believer responds to hardship determines their spiritual growth and closeness to Allah. Patience is not weakness or passive suffering, it is strength, trust, and the ability to remain faithful even when life becomes difficult. The story of Prophet Ibrahim AS is one of the clearest examples of patience in the face of repeated tests. He experienced rejection from his people, isolation, emotional sacrifice, and uncertainty, yet he remained calm and obedient throughout every challenge. His patience was not based on knowing how every situation would end, but on complete trust that Allah's plan was always better than his own understanding. This level of patience transformed every hardship into a source of honor and reward. Patient. See, during hardship means controlling the heart and actions when difficulties arise. It means resisting despair, anger, and hopelessness even when emotions become heavy. A believer with patience continues to pray, trust Allah, and fulfill responsibilities despite the pain they may be carrying inside. Eid al-Adha teaches that true faith is not only shown during moments of ease, but during moments when patience becomes difficult. One of the reasons patience is so valuable is because it strengthens the relationship between a believer and Allah. During hardship, people often realize how dependent they truly are on their Creator. They turn to dua, prayer, and remembrance more sincerely than before. These moments of reliance create a deeper spiritual connection that comfort alone may never produce. In this way, patience becomes a path toward closeness with Allah. Another important lesson is that patience brings reward beyond what a person can imagine. Allah never allows the suffering of a believer to go unnoticed. Every tear, every moment of struggle, and every effort to remain faithful during hardship carries reward in the sight of Allah. Sometimes the reward appears in this life through peace, wisdom, or relief, and sometimes it is saved for the hereafter where it becomes eternal. A believer may not see immediate results, but Allah's reward is always certain. Patience also protects the heart from bitterness and negativity. Hardships can either make a person stronger in faith or weaker in spirit depending on how they respond. A patient believer refuses to allow pain to destroy their trust in Allah. Instead, they continue moving forward with hope and reliance. This mindset creates emotional resilience and spiritual stability even during difficult times. The life of Prophet Ismail A.S. also reflects patience. When he was informed about the command of sacrifice, he did not react with fear or resistance. Instead, he accepted the test with trust and calmness. This shows that patience is not limited by age or circumstance. It is a quality rooted in sincere belief and confidence in Allah's wisdom. Another powerful aspect of patience is understanding that hardship is temporary. No difficulty lasts forever. Allah changes situations, opens doors, and brings relief in ways people often cannot predict. The believer who remains patient during darkness eventually witnesses the mercy and wisdom hidden behind the test. Eidul Adha reminds believers that after every trial faced by Prophet Ibrahim, as Allah brought honor, blessings, and relief. Patience during hardship is therefore not simply enduring pain, but enduring it with faith, hope, and trust in Allah's promise, knowing that every struggle carries meaning, every test carries reward, and every moment of sincere patience brings a believer closer to Allah and greater spiritual strength. Trusting Allah during difficult times is one of the greatest challenges a believer faces, yet it is also one of the most popular and wonderful acts of faith. Life does not always unfold according to human plans. People experience pain, disappointment, loss, uncertainty, and moments where everything feels heavy and confusing. During these times, the heart may become weak and questions may arise about why certain hardships are happening. Eidul Adha reminds believers through the story of Prophet Ibrahim, A.S., that true faith means continuing to trust Allah even when life becomes difficult and the outcome is unclear. Trust in Allah, known as tawakkul, is not simply saying words of belief while the heart remains full of fear and doubt. Real trust means believing that Allah's wisdom is perfect even when circumstances appear painful. It means accepting that Allah sees what human beings cannot see and knows what is best for every soul. A believer who trusts Allah understands that every hardship is part of a larger plan that carries hidden mercy, growth, and purpose. The life of Prophet Ibrahim, A.S., is filled with moments where trusting Allah was the only source of strength. When he was thrown into the fire by his people, there was no visible escape. Yet he remained calm because his heart was connected to Allah rather than controlled by fear. Allah then transformed the fire into coolness and safety for him. This teaches believers that no situation is beyond Allah's power and that trust in Him can bring relief in ways that are impossible to imagine. Another powerful example is when Prophet Ibrahim, A.S., left Hajar and infant Ismail in the empty desert by Allah's command. From a human perspective, the situation looked hopeless. There was no water, food, or visible support. Yet both Ibrahim, A.S., and Hajar trusted Allah completely. Because of that trust, Allah provided Zamzam water and transformed that barren place into the sacred city of Makkah. This shows that when believers rely on Allah sincerely, He creates solutions from places they never expected. Many people lose hope during hardship because they focus only on what they can currently see. Human vision is limited, while Allah's knowledge covers everything. A closed door today may protect a person from future harm, while a painful delay may prepare them for something greater later. Trusting Allah means accepting that not every answer will come immediately, but believing that Allah never abandons His sincere servants. Trust also brings peace to the heart. A person who constantly worries about every outcome becomes emotionally exhausted. But when a believer places trust in Allah, they no longer carry the burden alone. They continue making effort while leaving the final result to Allah. This balance between action and reliance creates emotional strength and spiritual calmness even during difficult situations. Another important aspect of trusting Allah is remaining hopeful. Shaitan often tries to make believers feel abandoned during hardship, filling the heart with despair and negativity. However, Islam teaches that despair in Allah's mercy is dangerous because Allah's help can arrive at any moment. The stories connected to Eidul Adha show that relief often comes after patience and trust, not before. Trusting Allah does not mean life becomes free from pain. Even the prophets experienced deep emotional struggles and difficult tests, but their trust prevented those hardships from destroying their faith. Instead, every trial brought them closer to Allah and strengthened their spiritual character. Eid al-Adha teaches believers that no matter how difficult life feels, Allah remains in control of every situation, and sincere trust in Him gives the heart strength, hope, patience, and the ability to continue forward with faith even when the path ahead cannot yet be clearly seen. Tests and hardships have a powerful effect on the human heart, and one of the greatest wisdoms behind them is that they purify the heart and strengthen faith. People often view difficulties only as painful experiences, but in Islam, trials are all. So opportunities for spiritual growth and inner transformation. Eid al-Adha reminds believers through the story of Prophet Ibrahim, AES, that every hardship carries the potential to bring a person closer to Allah and make their faith more sincere and mature. The human heart can easily become attached to comfort, success, and worldly life. When life is easy, people may begin to rely too much on themselves and forget their dependence on Allah. Hardships interrupt this illusion of control and remind believers that true power belongs only to Allah. This realization softens the heart and creates humility, which is one of the most important qualities in a believer's spiritual journey. Trials purify the heart by removing arrogance and pride. A person who has never experienced difficulty may begin to feel self-sufficient or overly confident in their own abilities. But when hardship arrives, they realize how limited human strength truly is. This awareness breaks arrogance and replaces it with humility and dependence on Allah. A humble heart is more sincere in worship and more open to guidance and mercy. The life of Prophet Ibrahim, AS, demonstrates this purification through repeated tests. Every challenge he faced strengthened his trust in Allah and deepened his sincerity. Being thrown into the fire, leaving his family in the desert, and preparing to sacrifice his son were all experiences that purified his heart from attachment to worldly comfort. His faith became stronger because every trial pushed him to rely completely on Allah rather than on visible means. Hardships also reveal what truly exists inside the heart. During easy times, a person may think their faith is strong, but real faith becomes visible when life becomes difficult. A believer who continues to pray, remain patient and trust Allah despite pain demonstrates sincere iman. Trials separate temporary emotional faith from deep-rooted conviction. This is why difficult moments often become turning points in a believer's spiritual life. Another important effect of tests is that they increase awareness of Allah. In moments of pain, people naturally turn toward prayer, dua, and remembrance. The heart becomes more connected to Allah because it recognizes its need for His help and mercy. Many believers experience their strongest spiritual moments during hardship because those moments remove distractions and focus the heart entirely on the Creator. Tests also help believers develop patience and emotional strength. Without hardship, qualities such as patience, perseverance, and trust cannot fully grow. Just as physical muscles become stronger through resistance, faith becomes stronger through trials. A believer who survives difficulties with faith develops resilience and spiritual maturity that comfort alone could never produce. Hardships can also purify believers from sins. Islam teaches that pain, sadness, and struggles erase sins and bring reward when faced with patience. This means that evening, and difficult experiences carry hidden mercy for those who respond correctly. A believer may dislike hardship, yet it may become one of the greatest causes of purification and spiritual elevation in their life. Another important lesson is that purification through hardship prepares believers for greater responsibilities and blessings. Allah often strengthens people through trials before opening doors for them spiritually or emotionally. A purified heart is more grateful, more sincere, and less attached to temporary worldly distractions. Eid al-Adha teaches that tests are not meaningless suffering but opportunities for purification, humility, and spiritual growth. Allowing believers to strengthen their faith, reconnect with Allah, and develop hearts that are more sincere, patient, and deeply rooted in trust and submission to their Creator.